how labels see it is it's a product. You have to be a package. You have to have a look. You have to have a voice that matches that specific look. What audience are you going to sell to? So I had a label that was interested, and that kind of fell through because of so many awesome reasons. Because I was raised, I would like to say that my family raised me with like morals, and this label was asking me to do ridiculous things for the fame and clout. And like as musicians and actors, you hear like the worst possible story for roles and stuff like that. Like that's exactly what they're asking. And I just wasn't going to diminish who I was so I could get an album out.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Film Goals podcast. Today I'm with the one and only Chris Ivan.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So right now you are dressed in your alter ego.
Yes.
So before we get into that, because I want to hear about it. Talk about kind of what you do. I know you're an actor, you're a singer.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about your journey in art.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast and your show. Yeah, I'm a singer, songwriter. Act when the singing and songwriting gets a little overwhelming.
Okay.
I love acting. I feel like it's another expressive, artistic way to show off your talent. So I started acting maybe around 2019.
Okay.
First role was in Rust 3, Joe Lujan or Carcass Studios production.
Okay.
It was a small little role. First time covered in like blood, like the makeup blood.
Yeah.
And then that was the first time that I knew that I hated being covered in blood. Because some blood is like ridiculously sticky.
Yep.
And then they get scabby. I absolutely hate it. My arms are typically like super hairy. So like when the blood, it was like ripped it all off. It was painful. So I act when the music's getting a little difficult. And then music is like my main thing. Grew up singing music in the church and made my way through vocal lessons, was doing opera. I just love music in all sorts of genres. But back in 2018, that's when I made a shift from possibly being track scholarship in college, and I wanted to do full-time music. And I wanted to kind of live my dreams of pursuing the music industry, and I haven't stopped since. I have now 3 albums under my belt, and this past one called Ivan that I released on March 1st, has really opened up a lot of doors for me, and that album was actually the most painful album to create, and I didn't even want to release it. That was like a lot of producers and engineers and management of the team. That's what they wanted to release, and it was kind of against my will, but I'm glad that it happened and I released it because it has, through pain, something beautiful has come from it. So
what would you describe like your genre? And I know you're saying like, this album is really emotional. Like where do you get your inspiration from, and then what genre does your genre matter when you're emotional like this? Like what kind of music did you create?
So my first 2 albums, especially my first album, I tested a lot of genres because I kind of like a lot of genres. I like pop, I like R&B, I like hip hop, I like gospel. I like all sorts of genres. So my first album was a little bit all over the place. The second album, On My Terms, was a little bit more in the pop R&B direction. And then with this third album, because it had so much raw emotion and kind of like events that had occurred, I had to tell myself like mentally that it had to stick to one genre because the lyrics were going to be so in depth and kind of all over the place that I had to stick with one genre and aspect of the music. So something sounded cohesive. So I would like to say that this third album, Ivan, is pop album.
A pop.
So all the elements of pop, and I feel like pop has, you have the pop sad songs, the fun, little like softer like poppy ones, like BPM is like 115, and then you have the ones that are bangers that are like 150. So the whole aspect of that album was really about telling a story.
So let's back up a little bit. When you first started, like how old were you when you started creating the albums, and how did that process happen? Like, how did you reach out to labels? Did you do it yourself or what?
So I started the album when I started writing songs for the project around 18, and then went into the studio in 2019. And I did have a label that was interested in my package, because how labels see it is it's a product. You have to be a package. You have to have a look. You have to have a voice that matches that specific look. What audience are you going to sell to? So I had a label that was interested, and that kind of fell through because of so many awesome reasons. Because I would like to say that my family raised me with like morals, and this label was asking me to do ridiculous things for the fame and clout. And like as musicians and actors, you hear like the worst possible story for roles and stuff like that. Like that's exactly what they're asking. And I just wasn't going to diminish who I was so I could get an album out. I knew that I could get an album out with my own money as long as I worked 3-4 jobs at a time, doing it on my terms rather than kind of losing a piece of your soul just to get music out. And it's a hard situation, you know what I mean? Because some people don't have the resources or job opportunities to make your own money to produce your own stuff, So I had that label. I'm so happy that I never went with them, because I've done 3 albums of my own. And now if I could only say, like, while we're talking right now, what labels that I'm in talks with now, like it's just it's a dream come true to the younger me, because you work your ass off, like you persevere, you never give up. Like you hear stories about that, and it's like, is it ever going to happen to you? But like until it does, it's like, damn. So I had the opportunity, and I'm having more opportunities, so really grateful about that.
So when you say that the label like saw you as a package, how did that happen? Like, did you reach out to the label? Did the label reach out to you? And what were you doing at the time when you were in talks with them? Like, did you already have music out?
I had a few singles out, and I was working actually at a music store in Boca Park called Music and Arts, and American Idol had reached out to me to audition, and I did. But not a lot of people know that when auditioning for those talent shows, there's like, you perform in front of producers before you even perform in front of like the judges. So you're performing in front of producers, and that label was one of the few that was there scouting for people. And I met them at the American Idol audition, and started having meetings with them, and then seeing their products, seeing their artists, and grateful for them seeing my talent. But I'm also grateful that I never worked with them.
So how was your audition for American Idol? Did you make it? Did you go to the next round or what?
So at that time, I was very, very shy. And I didn't know stage presence. I didn't know how to match the face with your body language. And I did not make it. I tried for American Idol, America's Got Talent, The Voice. I tried all that. And some of them were super close, but it just never got a yes. I heard people say, "Oh, you have the look, but your voice doesn't sound," or "We already have someone that looks like you and sounds like you, so we don't want you." So, I mean, I get it. That's the whole TV side of it, and
Yeah.
you have to look like this. You gotta look like. So I got tired of hearing people say no, and just started finding it myself. And that's been more rewarding because I don't have to ask anyone what I want to sing about, what I don't want to sing about. And that's what I also take pride in is the singer-songwriter part, because a lot of singer-songwriters have to be very careful when they go into the studio writing for another artist, because they might know their story, but they can't write identically to what they're kind of going through because it might rock them. So I'm just glad I get to write my own music and also collaborate with some amazing singer-songwriters out here in Vegas too, because that's dope.
That's cool. So what was the process of creating your first album as like independent?
Oof. I actually wrote majority of the songs in what street is that? I think that's Flamingo, or no, this is there's a Love Store. And I would take classes at CSN at night, and then I would do my homework because I had friends who worked there, and I would actually write my songs at the Love Store. And I remember recording. I recorded majority of that whole album, 90% of it at 3 o'clock in the morning. My time slot was from 3 a.m. to 7, and then I would work at 9. So it was also working. I worked at number one boba. I know how to make that fresh boba. Taro. I worked at a music store and like a mom and pop diner. So I was working 3 jobs at the time to fund it.
Yeah.
And it was a huge learning curve because I got to learn so many in-depth ways of writing songs, portraying your emotions and lyrics, and super grateful for the producer that I worked with. His name is Blake Wisner out here in Vegas, helping me with that whole project. And Dijon Underdo for mastering it. So that project was a blessing in so many ways that I am still learning to this day.
That's awesome. What was the name of your first album?
My first album, I actually have it with me. Let me grab it. It was called Biggest Battle. So this is what it looks like.
Cool.
I had this
Hold
one
it up so they can check it out.
Yes.
That's a cool cover. So what's the meaning of that cover?
The meaning of this cover is there's always life underneath something that you think is dead. With emotions. I feel like
so it's like a plant, like plants coming out of your skull.
Yeah. I had this one exclusively with Zia Records.
Okay.
My first album, and super grateful. I love butterflies, and I feel like butterflies always show life, flowers.
Yeah.
So that's something that I wanted to have sprouting from my head. But the first project was kind of like unraveling who I was from, I would like to say, from like, I don't know, like 6, 7 into like the beginning of high school. All that stored up emotions put into music. And it was from my point of view with kind of like religion, with family, the politics of people in church, because that's a whole political type of stuff. And I feel like a lot of people children who grew up in the church and they see family members who are pastors and stuff like that, they kind of get the brute end of the stick because their family members are more focused on everyone else. But they never really focus on their own kids, from the inside. So this was like a whole therapy session. That I honestly don't even listen to anymore because I can't even I write the songs, I release everything, and when I release it to the public, I release the animosity or the anxiousness or the anger, and I just let it be.
Oh wow, okay, that's cool. And then how long does it take you to create? Like that one was your first one, so you were still working. How long does it take you to create an album?
So this one took about 3 years. Because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right, yeah.
Didn't know shit. I caught myself, because of overthinking and overanalyzing my art, I caught myself spending hundreds of more dollars on songs that should have been done. So
like a perfectionist.
yeah.
Okay.
But you could only hear something and try to perfect it for so long before you're like, what are you doing?
What are you looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. My second album, On My Terms, this is gonna be my second project.
That's cool too.
This album took me I recently had just gotten hired for a new job that was actually such a good pay raise. And I honestly didn't know what to do with the money at that point, because I was like, wow, this job is actually paying my bills and giving me extra to like do fun stuff. So I did this album and maybe started it in June and ended in October, beginning of November. And then I released it January 1st.
Okay.
So it was about like 6 months around there, something like that.
Yeah.
On My Term has some really cool features with Desi, Kaliza, a producer named Adam that I love. He remixed a couple, and then a lot of people don't know that Joe Lujan, he's a director, but I'm actually helping him co-write his album.
Oh, okay.
And he's also featured on this album with Mi Amor.
Cool. And then what is this cover that you have on there? It's like, can I see it real quick? So it's like stuff coming out of your eyes.
Yeah.
And is that you or that's somebody else?
No, that's me.
Okay.
I've always tried to take an artistic look of art, because I feel like cover arts, I mean, that's kind of like a poster for a movie. It attracts people. This album is a lot of more R&B and a lot more exotic lyrics, you would say. So I felt like it should be a darker tone, kind of like when people eat edibles, they be tripping a little bit.
Yeah, it looks trippy.
Yeah. So I've actually had a lot of fans tell me that they listen to this album when they do edibles or they smoke a blunt or something like that. And it does definitely take them on a journey. And I've also had a lot of fans tell me, because I wrote my first project in the Love Store, they were helping me promote it.
Wow.
So I have a lot of fans from the Love Store, and they be selling this and telling me that they have sex to this music. And I mean, as long as it's being purchased and streamed, I don't care how you do what you do. So thank you.
So the Love Store, did they put your album on the shelves or not?
Not the shelves.
Okay.
They had flyers.
Okay.
Which that was more than I could ask for,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I mean, that's a pretty established store. I don't know if it's only in Vegas, because I haven't seen any elsewhere, but they knew I was there pretty religiously, and I wasn't there to like purchase items. I literally had my best friends working there, and I would just go and do homework with them, like, and then we would just write. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the Love Store. So kudos, and go buy your favorite toys over there.
So let me ask you real quick about the business side of it.
Okay.
How did you learn the business side of it, and what's kind of some of the stuff that you would tell people like they're getting into music and trying to create their own stuff independently like that?
The first thing that I would tell anyone is your artistry, to not let anyone put a price on how much you think your art is. Because corporations, labels, music streaming platforms, they will tell you how much that they think that you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I feel like it's such a huge red flag, because you should think the most about your art. Like, you as a director, like, you probably love your projects, you know what I mean? And me as a singer songwriter, I love my music. So to never let anyone tell you that, oh, you're only worth this, when you think that you're worth more, because your time is valuable. And a lot of singers or songwriters, we actually don't get paid for our talent. And if we do, they want to give us the bare minimum, and that isn't right. Like, good singers, good producers, good engineers, they could charge what they want to charge, you know what I mean? Because they're creating beats, they're creating the levels, mixing and mastering, you know what I mean? But singer songwriters, we're giving and providing the content, the content or the context of the song. So never let any corporation tell you how much you're worth. And then starting off in the industry, I didn't know shit. I was as naive as I learned the hard way. I had so many songs stolen from me, so many writing credits not even given to me. I get released 3 albums of unreleased tracks because artists, especially out here in Vegas, we're all in the same boat. You know what I mean? If we weren't, we wouldn't be in Vegas. You know what I mean? We would be probably in LA, Miami, New York, cities or highlight cities where our type of business flourishes, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of artists get really cocky, that we have really good collabs that will never see the light of day because ego. I feel like the ego is the root of joy, because so much joy can occur from collaborating or releasing a project or even working on something, and people's heads just get in the way and never see the light of day. I mean, I've encountered that in the music industry and in the movie industry, because ego is just awful. I hate it. We're all working to be something. So let's not forget the humbleness and where we're at now. You know what I mean?
Stay humble.
That shit bothers me. But I learned the hard way and had so many songs taken, so many amazing songs that will unfortunately never see the light of day, which sucks. But years later, to where we're at now in 2024, I've learned to... There's so many... How do I say this? When a gay Latin artist comes into a room, I already have so many setbacks. And there's so many producers who don't feel comfortable, who don't want to have someone who is of color, first of all, or gay to be on writing credits or some shit like that. It's like, you would think that in our industry where everyone boosts what's the word I'm looking for? Individuality and acceptance. Bitches are still homophobic. People are still racist. It's mind-boggling, because it's a lot of our work where we want to see representation on the movie screens or representation in art, but those are the same damn people who will hate on you.
Wow, that's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about the film stuff. Like, how's acting, and other than the sticky blood?
Yeah, I know. We just had a red carpet premiere for Carcass Studios' 4th installment of Immortal Wars: Decay's Paradox. And that was the biggest project up to date that I've been in and released. I'm a lead in that, starring with Lindsay Cruz, who plays Decay in this sci-fi action Hunger Games meets Mortal Kombat movie. And that took 4 years to see the light of day. We filmed back in 2020, and because of shutdowns and things moving or people having COVID, we had to shoot and then reshoot stuff because people were getting sick. So that was, I never thought that movie was gonna see the light of day because I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes shit happens and the editor falls through for some movies or funding, and then you have to have someone like.
Mhm.
I'm just glad that that movie came out. And recently I just wrapped for an alien movie called The Gray Ones that is really trippy, really cool. There wasn't a lot of there aren't going to be a lot of VFX in this movie. It's a lot of practical stuff.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Lighting, like there's like, I don't want to give it away, but there's like this trippy like scene where we lose our senses, and like the way that the DP was filming portrays what sense we lost. So
that's cool.
I'm super excited for that project. I am actually the director is gonna hate me for this one. Just got casted in a movie from a super famous Disney movie.
Okay.
That is taking a spin, because I don't know if you've noticed that a lot of Disney movies are taking like a horror spin. And this one is like super, it's gonna be super gory because this character is super like all about positivity and love. And I've also never played a killer. I've never and then people always ask me, because I'm a pretty tall guy and like my build is like serial killer, but from what people have told me when I go on sets. So this is gonna be the first time I'm gonna be a killer, and that's super exciting. But I'm a somewhat of a method actor, so I'm excited to see like where I go.
Kill somebody.
Oh no, not hopefully. No, but I like to definitely take roles serious and kind of like live in who I'm portraying. So I'm excited for that. So
that's cool. So what is because you said acting is your kind of escape from music for a while. What is the difference in getting to be in film versus like the music stuff?
So when I act, I feel like I am portraying another person. Like, I mean, we have the table reads and you meet your fellow like co-stars, and the story is written when we go and read the script, So I kind of asked the director, like, who do you see as this person? Like, I want as much context so I could become that character. And it's for me, and it's an escape from reality, because for me as an artist, I mean, Chris Ivan is kind of what you see is what you get, and everything I've been through, I like to write from a place where things that I've experienced. So it's always, it can be a little overwhelming when I'm writing songs about a lot of like tragic events that happen in my life, and breakups or family issues, or kind of like self-identity. That is exhausting. It's so draining sometimes that I just don't want to even hear a song. I don't want to write nothing. And typically when that happens, I would go into looking for anyone who's casting for movies. So I absolutely love acting when I'm kind of drained from being Chris Ivan. Because I feel like everyone sometimes thinks that I have to am this singer, songwriter, pop star when I'm on stage, and they expect that I'm like that all the time, and I actually don't like that. I don't like that at all, because sometimes I'll be shopping at La Bonita and like flip-flops, and like I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, are you Chris? Like, I just saw you perform at Artifice or at Fremont this past week. And they're like, why are you here? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm still cooking rice and beans and shit. Like, it's like that persona of like, what did you expect that I was gonna be at Whole Foods, or like I'm shopping at like private store. Like, no, I'm
Right.
just any other person.
Got it.
So when I feel like that's taking a toll, or I feel pressure from producers or execs like reaching out, sometimes I just escape and go into filming because I get to be someone else. I get to be Paradox. I get to be Carlos in this zombie franchise movie that I'm in. I get to be someone else other than myself, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because I do like to method act, so I really take it serious to the point where I'm not who I am on an everyday basis. I am who the director tells me I am until the camera says cut and we're done. That's me. Yeah. So I like that. I like it a lot.
That's cool. Yeah, I think you need that for sure, especially when you're getting so deep into your music. So let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about Alter Ego and all that.
So the Alter Ego is Ivan. This is my third album. And it's very different. The cover is very different from the first two. The first two, very artistic, very kind of somewhat kind of from left field. This one was, I went through a lot of my most tragic young adult events during the writing of this project, and the vulnerability that I also wanted to show on the cover was just, I mean, one, not a lot of people know this, but I took this photo completely nude. And like all the PAs that we had on set and photographer, it was definitely a close set because the last thing I wanted was some shit popping up on Twitter. So it was a close set, and it just shows, I mean, there's no other state that you're in when you're naked of the vulnerability. Yeah. Because us as human, we know every flaw that there is. And I kind of didn't want to cover up any flaws or try to hide any insecurity. I just wanted to be as natural as a human could be. And the reason why I call it Ivan, because that is my middle name. My full name is Christian Ivan Ballesteros Jr. And going back to that label, they didn't want my name to be Chris Ivan. They actually wanted it to be Ivan Nelly. And I didn't like that. Ivan Nelly. Yeah. So this was also another jab to them because they never thought that Chris Ivan could headline a show. I've headlined Stonies. Like, I've done crazy amount of things as an independent artist by myself without a label, without them, that I kind of wanted to just call it Ivan because it was, again, personal to me. And also this alter ego, now that I've released the album, like, this is Ivan. And when I mean like this is an artist that has been through shit, but also realized that I'm still that bitch. That I've still had to put a smile on my face when you think that there's no hope. You know what I mean? Yeah. I lost that for a while because after On My Terms, I didn't know what I was doing with the music. I didn't know if I was done. I wanted to just do full acting. I was tired of the music, and events just occurred and changed my life during the process and filming of Ivan. And I was having some amazing producers send me some instrumental saying like, hey, I know you're going through a lot. I'm thinking of you. I want you to have this beat. We're not even going to charge you. We just want you to get back into the art of it. And it takes a lot, or it took a lot out of me to realize, even in some of your worst mistakes that you do, that you can't slumber, that you can't ponder and just soak in your sadness. And I just had to pick up all my bags, pick up all my shit, and kind of just remember who I was when the blur of it when everyone's in your ear, everyone's saying, "Oh, you could do this, you should do that." Pray, and it's gonna fix everything to a certain extent, because if there's no action,
Yeah.
not everything is just gonna happen because of a fucking prayer.
That's awesome, dude.
So,
Is it released already, or is
so
it
yeah,
out? When is it coming out?
Ivan's already released on all streaming platforms.
Okay.
Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, iTunes. Because of this album, I have so many crazy blessings that soon will be within the past 3 to 6 months are going to be like told, and hopefully this tour that we're in talks of right now picks up.
Awesome.
And just looking for some other openers. So if anyone is interested, anyone wants to go on tour, it's going to be more like a West Coast. So we're going to do California, Nevada, go up to Oregon, Denver a little. That's close. That's probably the farthest we'll go. But I'm excited.
It's awesome, man.
This album, if anyone is ever looking for the aftermath of a breakup, the aftermath of the healing, kind of, or if anyone's ever set their own world on fire, this is the album. Because I kind of talk about it all.
Did you stay in the pop genre?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
It's definitely pop. I believe Heroin is the third track. That's actually the theme song for Immortal Wars: The Case Paradox. So we released the whole music video themed with the movie. So that's a whole storyline that people, if they watch the music video, they'll understand where it belongs in the movie. But the movie doesn't have it. We thought about adding those scenes, but the director Joe Lujan wanted to have the music video to be its own thing. And I'm super excited to release that as a single because we got some badass cover art. But this album has definitely opened so many doors. So if you guys want to check this out on all streaming platforms, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'd like to say your ears would thank you too.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here, man.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It was a great talk, man.
I appreciate you.
Very artistic. Very like deep into like, you know, your art.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna put all your links below, and yeah, you guys follow him, listen to music, and we'll see you next time. Peace.